Hello, I'm Tommy Moore from the Bartitsu Lab, and in this video we're going to be looking at giant killers. Now those of you who met me know I'm a pretty big guy. I'm 6'3", I'm relatively big, I'm a relatively heavy guy, but there's always someone bigger. For example, I box at super heavyweight. I'm a very small super heavyweight, and I'm 18 stone and I'm 6'3". There are people that I box which are humongous and not too different proportionally to how Bob is next to me. And that, suffice to say, obviously there are many people that are relatively average height or less than average height, to which someone like me, proportionally, would be about the same distance. It's always important to know what you could do against someone larger than you. And even if you're large, there is always a bigger fish. So I'm just going to go through some techniques, some armed, some unarmed, that work well against bigger lumps of human, like this. Size does matter. And whilst you can't control size, you can control proportionate skill. A big guy with equal skill will most often than not smash you to fuck. If he's got very good skills and he's very big, you're going to have a very tough fight ahead of you. But obviously you can't dictate your genes. You can make yourself stronger. You can make yourself more muscular. You can do those things. You can put on some more mass, but eventually there comes a point where you cannot increase your height. Sometimes you cannot increase your bone or your skeletal structure. You in many ways are what you are. You can get better, but you are dealt the hand you are dealt when it comes to genetics. So you have to make sure that you focus on the skills, the attributes, the awareness necessary to level the playing field and go above and beyond to beat a larger adversary. So again, even if you're a big guy, even if you're a strong guy, there's always bigger, there's always stronger, and there's always a good opportunity to train for the bigger guys. Now, before I go into that, one of the main things that really annoys me is it's great that people are doing a lot more solo pad training at home, and given the lockdown times, it's an absolute necessity. But many people are holding their pads here, shrinking here, unless you are invading Hobbiton, someone that much smaller than you is unlikely to be attacking you. So make sure you spend at least equal amount of times having at least your height, if not taller, when you're practicing with solo pad forms. Make sure you experiment with striking above you, as it's easy to get lazy and start to drop the pad. So if you are doing solo pad drills at home, an appropriate height is sometimes advised. Anyway, let's move through to some giant killers. Techniques and flows that work well through different weapons against taller adversaries. So the first one we're going to look at is using a baton, a blunt, heavy instrument. Now this is a baton which is designed to be a baton. This could be a wrench, it could be a piece of 2x4, essentially any blunt tool that I can use with one hand, improvised or by design. And we're going to look at a little flow to use against a big dude. In this case, Bob's nearly about 7 foot tall. And here we go. So, first thing, whether we're armed or unarmed, the proportionate reach of that larger human means that his heavy guns are going to have very good range. And there is no point being on the losing end of a big gun fight. So again, if he is this height, it's very likely that his punch is going to hit me way before my punch hits him. So getting into range and underneath those guns is very important. And this is where what some people call the O'Neill guard can really bear fruit. So in this instance, we're going to have our baton, we're going to have an equalizer. Imagine this big motherfucker has just burst into our house. We're not going to want to fight him unarmed, naked, and half asleep. So we're going to burst in with an O'Neill guard. So we're going to make our forearms parallel. You'll see this with George Foreman, the boxer, as well, and many other athletes beside. Bursting in, head down low, so it's hard to shake the brain, it's hard to clip the jaw. Bursting in. Some people align their elbows fully, others just make their forearms parallel, and we're going to crash in until these touch our Bob. So again, it's important to have a dynamic, explosive step. Don't walk in like this, because you're going to be eating some heavy artillery on the way in. You must explode between, this is me out of danger, this is me in danger, this is me in less danger. You need to get from out of danger to less danger in the quickest possible time. Smashing straight in here. Duck the head, smash in with this O'Neill guard, this O'Neill cover. It's going to be hard to shake the brain when it's so encased, when that chin is tucked. The elbows are here, it's a tough job to knock someone out. Even with knees, with this here, it's really hard to penetrate in. It's quite a sound and robust platform. So we're bursting in with an O'Neill style entry. Bang! Until we feel contact. Now we see we've wound up, we're now going to unwind. So we're going to smash in a backhand along the jawbone or behind the ear. Again, it's a hard weapon, and we can use this on hard, bony surfaces. That's where it does its best job. So we crash in, making sure we're explosive. From here. What we're going to do then, without putting ourselves back into danger range, we're going to pivot and backhand strike here. Straight off. Belt that straight across. You notice the weapon is reorientated back on him straight away. There's no point in the weapon being angled here. Once I've hit, the weapon needs to be pointed at, so much so that if it were bladed, I could sink it straight in. So we've done our O'Neill crash. Bang! We've backhanded across the jaw. We've kept the opponent on target. Nice and simple. We're going to follow that through with a palm strike up top. And in essence, this is just us throwing muck in the machine. It's keeping his attention up high. And the reason why I want his attention up high is that I'm going to travail, I'm going to pass, and I'm going to hit the inside of the thigh or the inside of the knee as I pass. From here, straight across, moving around the back of this big motherfucker. Okay? And then finally, we're going to do a backhand strike again around the back of the head. And this could be the brainstem, where the neck meets the head, could be behind the ear. Either way, as we've hit through, we're going to hit the back of his head. And you would have to be a very strong motherfucker indeed to survive an onslaught like that. It will very least buckle him down to a more manageable level. So, in the flow, O'Neill crash, backhand, and we're going to follow up with the palm. Just to throw this in. We're going to travail through as we strike the knee. And then immediately, as that's gone through, we flow to the back of the head. From here. Nice and simple. And every time I end, the weapon is reorientated at that opponent in case I need to go again. So, crash in, bang, backhand, whap, and throw attention up high. Travail, hit the kneecap, or the inside of the thigh, and then the back of the head. And make sure we reorientate. Always moving around to the back of the opponent. So simple ways you can use the baton. Be nice and aggressive. Be nice and fast. Explode into that space. Simple. Let's imagine in this instance I have a long stick. I have something longer. This is walking stick length. Pretty easy. Two primary options for me here. Again, making sure I'm out of artillery reach here. I can use the stick, in this instance a weighted stick, with the weighted weapon at the back. And then I use this sliding leverage motion to strike down. And again, this could be on the jaw, on the collarbone, the temple, the crown of the head, either way, because this is a heavy weighted tool. So from here, again, I explode in and withdraw. So I shuffle step in, I use the full extent and length of the weapon with two hands, because if he's a big guy and he grabs it, I'm going to want two hands to wrestle it back off. So at no point am I using one hand like I might do on a smaller opponent, two hands. I step into range, briefly strike, return. If he does advance, you step all the way in. In this instance, I'm supporting the back of the staff, getting very close and bayonet driving that into the throat. Notice I'm not just using the stick, I'm using my knee in a lunge, driving him through. This could go to the solar plexus, could go to the groin. I like it into the throat because it tips the head beyond the arse, even if he's just getting out the way of it, get him to the ground, in which case, bang, smashing him with this got a whole lot easier. So at range, this sliding leverage shot, like you're using an axe, get out of dodge if you haven't quite finished the job, or drop stepping in as you thrust this up in a bayonet style fashion. I keep the hand close to the tip here because it allows me the most accuracy. Let's say he flinches, I've got great control of the weapon, so I can change it and go up high. So because my hand is close to the tip of this weapon, I can really be laser guided into where it goes, into the trachea, into the eye, into the groin. But either way, the penetrative step is important. That drop step getting my head inside the dangerous arc of that weapon. And there's nothing to stop you striking in, stepping out, and delivering a final coup de grace with the weapon. Let's imagine I don't have the baton or the stick, but I have a shiv, a spike, a knife, something like this. This is nature's great equaliser, because as soon as we have this, a man can go from hard to lard very quickly. There's many ways you can use a knife very effectively on many parts of the body. Anywhere on that arterial map, so the femoral is just as good as getting them into the neck. It doesn't really matter as long as I'm making him bleed out very, very quickly. So again, in this instance, importantly, I don't stay at the limit of his guns. Even if I have a knife, if I'm knocked out at this range, it's going to do me no fucking good. And he might just use it on me after I'm unconscious. So fuck it. So in this instance, we're still being explosive as we come in. And this time we're going to use a single elbow spike. So we're going to burst in, like we did the O'Neill cover, and smash this in. And this could go into the liver, into the solar plexus. If you're left-handed, go into the spleen or under the heart. So liver, spleen, heart, solar plexus, all those types of places are really good to spike this in. But the important thing is to get out of no man's land into here. And at that juncture, you might have drawn this weapon. Okay? So you might have had it in hiding, like so. You're going to burst in, and you've drawn this weapon. Okay? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to strike up into the groin or into the femoral, depending on what's available to you. So the femoral artery on the inside of the thigh, or straight up into the groin. So we burst in as we draw, groin stab or femoral stab. 1, 2, grab a lump of clothing, move around, and almost in a hook-like fashion, get this into the kidney. So we start to move around into this opponent. And once we've got into the kidney, we ratchet it out, so we move our wrist this way to wiggle it free, cause bad exit wound, in, ratchet, draw through it, draw free, and then finally, if you wish to, into the neck. So again, taking out the artery here. If you had it in ice pick, like so, you might go subclavian, but in reality, you need every bit of range you can get, so I'd advise forehand for a much bigger opponent. So again, we're outside of no man's land. We've got as close as we can in, keeping our head safe. Groin, femoral artery, grip. As you turn, fire this into the kidney. And finally, into the throat and out. Always travailing round the opponent if you can. The more I can get round to his back, the better. So again, stealth draw, very important. Bursting in without being hit solidly, very important. Artery, major organ, major artery. Rip out. Keep going. You can cause lots and lots of devastation as a smaller guy with a knife, which is exactly why humans invented knives, or one of the reasons. It levels the game and it takes away many genetic advantages. If you're a big guy with a knife, that's really fucking scary. But if you're a small guy with a knife, you've got a good chance. Let's imagine we have no tool, because sometimes you don't have a baton, a stick, a knife. Sometimes you've got fuck all. So what do you do when you've got fuck all? Well, a couple of options here. Let's look at this from a boxing or a pugilistic perspective. Because a lot of the guys that I spar are this fucking size. Yeah, it's not all the time, but this isn't impossible and this isn't improbable. Yeah, a lot of the guys, especially the Eastern European guys, the Latvians, the Lithuanians, big motherfuckers. Right. So again, you've got to avoid being in this range, being in this artillery range. It's just not going to work out for you well. So what we're going to do, in this instance, we're going to crash offset. So we're going to take a slight diagonal, but still drop step to make up that ground. And we're going to launch a shovel hook to the liver. Now, bear in mind that because of the height difference, my lines of power where his organs are on his body. You know, if I'm fighting someone my height, I have to bend down or kneel down or move my body to access those organs, and that sometimes takes away a bit of power. Here, where I'd normally have prime time shots to the face, is now in organ range, so you can fire a lot of power with height disparity against the body because it's completely in my line of power. It's hard for him to punch down. So once I get in here, yes, he could separate and fire in uppercuts, but if you're vicious and nasty here, you can cause quite a lot of damage. And I fight a lot smaller guys too. They're absolute savages once they're here. So again, the important job is getting there strategically. So in this instance, we're going to bob as we do a drop step. We're going to get nice and close. We're going to fire in this shovel hook right into the liver. Very important. And I'm going to keep my head compressed in. Once it's hit, I need to give a bit of clearance to get that shot in. Once it's hit, I'll make sure I'm sticking. I don't want to get too far out and catch a bomb. So once I've got this in here, the next thing, you've got two options. You can either fire an elliptical overhand, and you watch a boxer like Derek Chisora do this, does it very well. So the overhand here, coming straight up and over, like you're throwing a ball, overhand, and you just have to go with it, from here, fire it straight over the top. You are winging it, but the important thing, the body follows. So the hip follows, the body weight follows, all of you's going into him. From here. So we're offsetting, smashing into that liver, which hopefully drops his head just a smidge, and then wham, we're stepping in with a big overhand. From here. Or you may wish to go low. So again, slightly more illegal boxing, but we do the same. Shovel hook to the liver, and then immediately fire another uppercut right into the groin. From here. But you have to be venomous with it. It can't just be an arm punch. You've really got to fire with an upward surge into that target, keeping the head nice and close to do your work. But if you're a smaller guy, your accuracy has to be much better. So if you're a smaller guy, I can't afford generic body shots. I can only afford precision, liver, groin, under the heart, into the spleen. You have to be that much more accurate because you don't have time to spare. He's going to lean on you, he's going to press on you, he's going to sap your energy. And if he hits you once, it's the equivalent of you hitting him 8 times. So you need to have that precision, you need to have that accuracy. Warm right into the liver, warm right into the spleen, into the kidney, into the groin, whatever you're going to do. Think about where you're hitting on an anatomical level. That's why I'd advise getting those rash guards that have got organs on. It's very, very useful. So from a boxing perspective, we bob and take a deep step in. Wham! Shovel uppercut. Wham! Into the groin, or shovel, wham! Into the face. Wham! Wham! Or wham! Wham! Over the top. And finally, if you take a combatives, so in this instance a World War II combatives approach, let's say you're not used to the boxing, let's say you've not really done much hand conditioning, what can you do? And again, big motherfucker here, don't want to trade. So, what can I do? I can take the exact same penetrative step that I would have taken with boxing. Bang! But in this instance, we're firing an extended chin jab up. So we're getting super close to the opponent here, grabbing a lump of back, lump of kidney, lump of flesh, lump of jacket, lump of belt, grabbing something here and smashing this up. So trying to rock his head back and follow through with the fingers. So from here, we get out of the no man's land, which is here, straight in, get that attachment, blast that straight up. So you're driving this. It extends further than the typical chin jab because the height difference. Once that's in, you can rake the fingers down, smash them in the groin, or you can drive the fingers forward into the eye and hopefully knock him down. I'd advise that if he's not gone down from the percussion of that shot, rake down the eye, smash into the bollocks. So from here, right into the bollocks. Easy things for you to do, nice and simple. But again, take the time to practice against opponents that have height, weight, reach advantages, because they're very real, they're very scary, and you don't want the first time for you to have considered fighting a big motherfucker like this to be the time you need it for real. So do take the time and consideration to practice with varying body types, of which naturally big motherfuckers like 7-foot Bob over here could well be one of them. Give it a play.